我宣布
The 9,870th meeting of the Security Council is called to order. The provisional agenda for this meeting is United Nations peacekeeping operations, police commissioners. The agenda is adopted. In accordance with Rule 39 of the Council's Provisional Rules of Procedure, I invite the following briefers to participate in this meeting. Mr. Jean-Pierre Laqua, Under-Secretary General for Peace Operations. Mr. Shakar, United Nations Police Advisor. Mr. Christophe Bizimungu, Police Commissioner, United Nations Multidimensional Integrated Stabilization Mission in the Central African Republic. And Ms. Minju Xu, Senior Police Advisor, United Nations Peacekeeping Force in Cyprus. It is so decided. The Security Council will now begin its consideration of item 2 of the agenda. The intention of the session is to be as interactive as possible. We are looking forward to questions from the Council members to the Commissioners and from the Commissioners to the Council. I now give the floor to Mr. Jean-Pierre Laqua.
Mr. President and distinguished members of the Security Council, I thank you for convening this briefing. I look forward to the discussion. I'm very happy to be joining this meeting from Kinshasa in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where, as you know, we have an important peacekeeping mission. I will ask the Council's indulgence because due to prior commitment, I will have to leave this meeting in about 1 hour. But in the meantime, as I say, I'm very pleased to be joined today by the Police Commissioner from our peacekeeping operation in the Central African Republic and the Senior Police Advisor from our mission in Cyprus. And of course, very happy also to be with my colleague, the Police Advisor, Mr. Faisal Shakar. We deeply appreciate the Security Council recognition of United Nations peacekeeping as one of the most effective tools in the promotion and maintenance of international peace and security. And in this context, the recognition of the critical role United Nations police plays in peacekeeping. Each of us here in this chamber, member states, council members, host countries, and military, police, and financial contributors have a stake in the success of peacekeeping operations. This is never truer than at times like these when multilateralism is facing significant headwinds. We must all continue to strive to ensure that peacekeeping remains relevant and responsive to the greatest challenges to global peace, security, and development today. This session, coming as it does in advance of the peacekeeping ministerial level meeting in Berlin this May, is well timed for us to discuss a critical question. How can we position United Nations police to be prepared for the future and the challenges that, even as they evolve, retain many known aspects? Such challenges include lack of adherence to the rule of law, corruption, disregard for international law, transnational organized crime, and human rights violation. It is therefore essential that we work collectively. United Nations police are properly prepared, equipped, and resourced to meet whatever tomorrow brings. I have said before to this August body that the gap between peacekeeping mandates and what the missions can in practice actually deliver has become increasingly apparent. The Action for Peacekeeping, or A4P agenda, and notably the areas that we have prioritized within A4P+, continues to be helping to close this gap. We have made great strides in advancing our commitments under the A4P initiative and in advancing the priorities of A4P+. Rigorous and transparent monitoring of the performance and impact of peacekeeping operations provides the foundation for improving our operations. We recently released our 6th A4P+ progress report, which indicates that we remain on track in fulfillment of our commitment. The first priority of A4P+, which is collective coherence behind political strategies, underscores that political solutions are a requirement for long-term peace and stability, and thus mission must exert continued efforts in partnership with all United Nations entities, member states, and other relevant stakeholders, such as regional and sub-regional organizations. In the Central African Republic, our United Nations police are aligning their work with the mission's political strategy 2023-2028, which remains the overall strategic framework for mandate implementation in line with Security Council Resolution 2759, which was the last time the Security Council extended mandate of MINUSCA. This includes capacity building of internal security forces to be able to protect civilian governance. The second A4P+ priority focuses on fostering greater strategic and operational integration. To this end, the Office of Military Affairs and Police Division organized the first Heads of Military and Police Components Conference last October to strengthen integrated planning and operability among mission components, including civilian elements, and with headquarters. Further, in UNFICYP, the United Nations police have been critical to the development and implementation of the rule of law support strategy for ABA, which brings together the entire mission with UN country teams in Sudan and South Sudan to address the immense rule of law challenges in ABA box. The Department of Peace Operations is also working to enhance capabilities and mindset, which is the third A4P+ priority. As part of the United Nations Police Training Architecture, the first significant step in the full revision of the United Nations Police Commanders course was undertaken in January with the pilot of the revised course in Nairobi, Kenya. Concurrently, preparations are already underway for the 2026 meeting of the Contingent Owned Equipment Working Group. Regarding the fourth A4P+ priority, accountability to peacekeepers, the community-oriented and police intelligence-led approaches undertaken by United Nations Police not only further their mission, but equally support safety and security of peacekeeping personnel. In MINUSCA, the United Nations Police have contributed to enhancing the safety and security of United Nations personnel by implementing an information management system that collects, collates, analyzes, and disseminates accurate security information promptly to support informed decision-making. To narrow the gender gap in working and living conditions in field missions, collaboration with the ELSE initiative has been extended into 2026, with 5 pilots projects now having been completed in 4 missions. These projects have resulted in refurbished and constructed camp accommodation that meet the need of our female peacekeepers. The United Nations Police also continue to enforce zero tolerance for sexual exploitation and abuse through enhanced pre-deployment and in-mission training, strengthening the accountability for our peacekeepers. Regarding strategic communication, which is the 6th A4P+ priority, the United Nations Police contribute to the efforts of the Department of Peace Operations to proactively counter misinformation, disinformation, and hate speech through daily community-oriented policing and awareness training activities. In line with the 7th A4P+ priority, we are redoubling efforts to improve cooperation with host countries. In the Central African Republic, the United Nations Police continue to support the political peace process by equipping and training the internal security forces in preparation for the upcoming elections. UNPOL have also contributed to the development of key strategic documents, such as a code of ethics for the national police and a transhuman security work plan, with the aim of enabling the host authorities to better fulfill their responsibilities to protect the population. The Women, Peace and Security agenda is mainstream across A4P+, and the United Nations Police remain fully committed to reinforcing engagement with authorities, civil society, and women's rights organizations. In South Sudan, United Nations Police are building the capacity of female host-state police officers to enhance their skills to assume leadership roles, while in Abyei, the United Nations Police launched a women network to address issues of joint interest. Furthermore, with the support of our member states, the United Nations Police achieved their gender parity targets for 2024. Women currently comprise 1 in 5 United Nations Police officers, including 32% of individual police officers and 17% of members of formed police units. Finally, the strategy for the digital transformation of the United Nations peacekeeping remains our guide as we continue to embrace technology, data, and innovation to modernize and improve peacekeeping. The United Nations Police have been working to advance the use of the UnitedWare platform, which provides a comprehensive, integrated database that consolidates data from various sources, including essential information related to patrol planning, incident reporting, and operational activities. Maximizing the potential of UnitedAware is essential for enhancing situation awareness, allowing police personnel and other missions components to visualize critical data in real time, significantly improve coordination, decision-making, and response capabilities across peace operations. Mr. President, Excellencies, A4P+ is part of a renewed collective engagement to strengthen peacekeeping as an invaluable instrument for peace and security and an expression of international solidarity. Through it, we are better placed to address today's challenges to peace and security and ultimately to improve the lives of the people we serve. This briefing to the Council is an opportunity to reaffirm the vital role that the United Nations Police play across the conflict prevention spectrum, from peacekeeping to peace building. It offers a forum to consider how training and capacity building of United Nations Police could be improved, and how member states might wish to broaden the range of countries to which United Nations Police assistance could be provided. Such assistance would help to further foster responsive and accountable police services, which are the cornerstone of the broader peace and development objectives of the organization. I remain grateful for this Council's ongoing support for A4P commitments and A4P+ priorities, and for your generous contribution of highly qualified police personnel to serve with the United Nations Police. And I thank you.
I thank Mr. Laqua for his briefing. I now give the floor to Mr. Faisal Shakar.
President, I thank you for convening this briefing. I'm pleased to be here with Under Secretary General Mr. Laqua, Assistant Secretary General Mr. Zoef, Police Commissioner Bizimungu from our peacekeeping operation in Central African Republic, and Senior Police Advisor Mingsu from our mission in Cyprus. Today, I am proud to sit before you as the United Nations Police Advisor. The United Nations Police make a real difference in the lives of people where we are deployed, helping those countries lay the foundations of sustainable peace and development. Although our footprints may have become smaller today than when I last briefed you in November 2023, the United Nations Police tasks and responsibilities remain still complex. This includes operational support and capacity building from our counterparts to support the development of host state policing capacities and institutions that underpin long-term stability and the rule of law. Excellencies, allow me to highlight some challenges facing the United Nations Police as well as to reflect on our accomplishments. As is true for peace operations as a whole, the challenges that the United Nations Police face continue to be impacted by our relationships and the levels of trust between our missions, host state governments, institutions, and host populations. Increasingly, we see that maintaining trust entails addressing mis- and disinformation, targeting United Nations peace operations, and facilitating compliance with status of force agreements. Enhancing performance is an integral part of the action of peacekeeping, both A4P and A4P+ initiative, and part of the requirements of Security Council Resolution 2436 of 2018, which emphasizes the need to improve performance of all United Nations civilian and uniformed personnel. To that end, if we want our United Nations Police to have the necessary knowledge and skills to perform such complex tasks, we must jointly invest in their training. That is why the Police Division and the DPAT Integrated Training Service initiated the development of the United Nations Police Commanders Course, or what we call UNFICYP, the crown jewel in the United Nations Police training architecture, which has been convened 6 times to date around the globe. At the same time, I expect United Nations police leadership in the field to continuously identify lessons and share them with the police division, so we can be guided by the member states and show that the United Nations police remain fit to respond to the evolving global peace and security challenges, both today and tomorrow. With respect to accomplishments, the United Nations police have continued to improve the lives of the people where we serve. In accordance with the mission mandates, the United Nations police help reinforce the capacities of their host state policing counterparts and provide assistance to their operations, including protecting civilians under threat of physical violence, utilizing the gender-responsive, evidence-based, and field-tested approach to policing anchored in the United Nations Strategic Guidance Framework for International Policing, or what we call SGF. For example, in Central African Republic, the United Nations Police focused on enhancing security and protecting civilians, including extensive training for the internal security forces with a particular emphasis on human rights, gender-based violence, and security in preparation for upcoming elections. Concurrently, the mission supported the deployment of over 1,400 internal security forces personnel nationwide through various capacity building initiatives and training programs, along with the construction and rehabilitation of police facilities. In South Sudan, UNMISS police with specialized posts from the United Nations Standing Police Capacity elaborated an integrated strategic election security support plan, providing essential technical advice to enhance security preparations for future elections in the country, both by the UNMISS Police and South Sudan National Police Service. In support of the Women, Peace and Security agenda, UNMISS Police supported the capacity building of Sudan women police officers to build their skills to assume leadership roles. And in Abyei, the UNFICYP police, in support of the mandate of the rule of law support strategy, continue their work with the community protection committees to manage law and order processes, focusing on protection of civilians and peaceful coexistence between Dinka and Maseria communities, and greater safety and security amidst the continuation of violence involving the Dinka and Twink Dinka communities. This includes ongoing advocacy for women's participation in alignment with the Women, Peace and Security agenda. The United Nations Interagency Task Force on Policing, which is co-chaired by Department of Peace Operation and the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime, continues to make progress in developing joint guidance and police standards, building on the strengths of the various United Nations entities. This work was recognized by the General Assembly in its resolution 77/241. Further, at headquarters, we endeavor to strengthen trilateral collaboration, including through the biennial United Nations Chiefs of Police Summit, UNCOPS. The fourth UNCOPS was successfully convened last June and contribute to reinforcing cooperation between police contribution countries and Secretariat in the area of policing, and including pledges of the personnel, expertise, and other resources. Excellencies, to help us achieve our goal, we would appreciate your further support, the ability to lead, influence, and develop other stakeholders through strengthening police professionalism and integrity, establishing administrative systems, and drafting legal and policy frameworks to support police development, and increasingly seen as a critical success factors in United Nations policing mandates. In addition to possessing sound leadership and management skills, United Nations police commanders must be operationally adept and knowledgeable of the how of United Nations policing as set out in the Strategic Guidance Framework for International Policing. We need your support in ensuring that such officers, including highly skilled women and Francophone officers, are made available from member states. Let me close by thanking the Security Council for this opportunity to speak, and by reiterating that the sustained leadership and continued political engagement of member states are indispensable for the success of the United Nations policing. I thank you for your attention.
I thank Mr. Faisal Shakar for his statement. Now, I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Bizimungu.
Mr. President, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor for me to share with you the recent developments as well as the priorities and the challenges the MINUSCA police is facing. And I will focus my statement on the security aspects, in particular those aspects which are linked to the UNPOL function. Let me start with the recent developments. And here I must say first and foremost that the year 2025 is an election year in Central Africa, and therefore this means that the security situation will certainly be related to the elections. We have already been witnessing demonstrations, peaceful so far, in the run-up to the elections. And in this context, UNPOL will continue playing its role of protection of civilians and doing this impartially by extending the support to the internal security forces in Central Africa, the ISF. In addition to the physical security, we will contribute towards the prevention of election violence, in particular violence against women and hate speech. Another critical security development that I would like to underscore is the resurgence of hate crimes, in particular in the Haimbomo province. And this uptick is partially related to the militarization of the Azande militias known as AAKG. This is a serious threat, and the solution needs to be found to this soon, because otherwise the situation will further deteriorate. Meanwhile, MINUSCA continues its various efforts to help resolve this issue. And the police component is participating in this. We, last week, for example, detached as a matter of urgency an FPU detachment to help bring down tensions related to this phenomenon in Obo. Another crucial security issue currently in Central Africa is the recurrent issue of violence having to do with transhumans. MINUSCA is making many an effort to help Central Africa create conditions which are conducive to peaceful and prosperous transhumans. And in this context, the police component is aiding the ISF to deploy specialized units so as to prevent violence related to transhumans. MINUSCA has offered to the ISF our technical and logistical support of a significant volume. We also put forward a plan that could help the ISF contribute towards a more calm transhumans in the long term. Now, when it comes to UNPOL priorities, mainly they have to do with the protection of civilians. This is how UNPOL is ready to effectively support security during the elections and help ensure that the people are not impacted during this period. This will be done in an integrated fashion together with the force and the civilian component of MINUSCA. Integration is therefore a very high priority for the mission, and in this regard, UNPOL continue deploying individual police officers, IPOs, into all of the MINUSCA bases, and it's redeploying a number of units from the capital towards the provinces. And this is done together with the decentralization of the mission. This is accompanied with a reconfiguration of UN Police so as to enable us to have a greater effectiveness and a better integration. Now, our priority also have to do with the extension of the state authority, and there UNPOL is putting together gendarmerie brigades and police stations in far-flung areas such as Amdafok and Bambuti. They are on the border with Sudan and South Sudan, respectively. This will allow us at the same time to contribute to the mission plan, which consists of helping the Central Africa as they try to better manage their border areas. Mr. President, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let me now turn to the challenges we encounter as we implement our mandate. The main challenge having to do with how difficult it is to get access to all the areas for intervention. We're very grateful for having received a C-130 plane, and it's providing a great deal of help to the mission. But this C-130 plane cannot have access everywhere in the area, and therefore we still have the inaccessibility challenge with us. For example, the mission decided in December 2024 to have an ambition plan for the stabilization of the Yade region. It's in northwest of the country, and this region is bordering Chad and Cameroon. For a long time, this region was a sanctuary for armed groups which are committing all kinds of violations against the civilians. UNPOL will participate in this operation with the 3 foreign police units. However, the operation has not yet started because the roads are very difficult and are now being worked upon by MINUSCA. In addition to the difficulty of going by road, we need to add to that the fact that there are explosive devices in certain areas, and this makes the issue of accessibility even worse. Another sizable challenge is sometimes inadequate participation in our work of our national partners in joint operations or in the projects conducted by MINUSCA. And this has to do mainly with the lack of logistical means, but this also limits the impact of our efforts as a mission. Mr. President, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, I would like to point out that there are recent developments which affect security in Central Africa, and MINUSCA is trying to react adequately to that despite the challenges we encounter. These challenges will not stop us from continue pursuing our priorities and implement our mission. I thank you for your attention.
I thank Mr. Bizimungu for his briefing. Now I give the floor to Ms. Mingzhu Xu.
Mr. President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am deeply honored and proud to appear before this body to present work of the police component in the United Nations peacekeeping force in Cyprus. It was 61 years ago that this Council adopted Resolution 186 to establish a peacekeeping mission to control the intercommunal violence between Cyprus. MPO has been a part of this effort since its inception. As one of the longest-running active missions, we have consistently upheld efforts to prevent the recurrence of conflict, contribute to maintenance of law and order, and facilitate a return to normal conditions, though our work has changed as the conflict has evolved. Over the years, authorized civilian activities within the buffer zone have expanded significantly. These include bicommunal events, support activities, farming, grazing, pilgrimages, and other civilian activities that require the mission support. MPO remains vigilant in safeguarding the buffer zone and facilitating the civilian activities in accordance with UN regulations. Since 2003, the MPO force is composed of 69 men and women. Our 69 men and women. Our mandated activities has grown exponentially. ample embrace integrated mission approach with military and civilian components, aligning political strategies, mind size, and capabilities to deliver in unified manner. Over time, especially in the last 5 years, UNFICYP AMPO's role has expanded beyond monitoring and reporting. Recognizing prevention as a cornerstone, current tasks include data-driven deployment, liaising with and existing police services on both sides in addressing criminal offenses enclosed by the buffer zone as appropriately. Moreover, duties include overseeing crossing points, accessing and supporting the insurance of authorization for civilian activities, facilitation of the information exchange activities with the 2 joint contact rooms, escorting and facilitating access to public service in the buffer zone, and delivering of humanitarian assistance to community isolated across the divide in the support of a civil affairs section. But our most important role is conflict prevention. Every day, ample officers engage with multitude of actors in the buffer zone, employing community-oriented policing to diffuse tensions, broker compromises, and generally keep the peace. The Women, Peace, and Security agenda remains core to AMPO's efforts, as outlined in its Gender Action Plan. One of its key objectives was to achieve 50-50 gender parity in representation by 2025. I am pleased to report that we just reached 48%, well exceeding the global AMPO target of 25%. The police component presents its expert input to UNFICYP integrated briefings and contributes to common situation awareness, taking part in cross-component coordination mechanism at headquarters and sector levels. Technology is the key to boosting the performance of the police component, including CCTVs, dashboard cameras, and tools provided by fully implemented situational awareness dual-barrel enterprise SAGE, UNITAWARE, utilizing the institutional memory available to plan and provide data-driven guidance to officers on the ground. Following the rise in authorized activity within the buffer zone, civilian incidents have also increased over the past 5 years, while criminal activity have remained stable. Specifically, comparing 2024 with 2023, civilian incidents increased by more than 100%, while criminal incidents decreased by 5.1% due to effective mechanism of cooperation in joint contact rooms in Nicosia and Pila, and efficient communication with both law enforcement agencies. This conjuncture required a tailored AMPO's response, involving device general, targeted and joint patrol in buffer zone hotspots to deal with 333 criminal and 3,897 civilian incidents in 2024. Notwithstanding the long-standing political stalemate within its area of responsibility, AMPO has been actively engaging in trust-building activity with respect to law enforcement issues. For instance, the Bicommunal Technical Committee on Crime and Criminal Matters established 2 joint contact rooms to enhance cooperation between the Republic of Cyprus Police and the Turkish Separate Police. Through this essential channel, a total of 487 pieces of information were exchanged between the law enforcement agencies in 2024 on the wide range of topics: wanted persons, crime against property, life, economic and financial order, missing person, etc. AMPO also facilitated the total of 13 handovers that were conducted from north to the ROC, including 2 high-profile internationally wanted suspects, one for terrorism, the other for arms trafficking. With a focus on maintaining law and order, AMPO provided escorts for CIPO and TCP on 147 occasions within the buffer zone, facilitating investigations, first respond operations, and other police-related activities. A total of 720 liaisons were conducted with CIPO and 235 with TCP. These overall circumstances bring dynamic challenges that test missions' adaptability. Although MINUSCA has no protection of a civilian mandate, the mission, in support of UNHCR, was obliged to respond to the Republic of Cyprus' pushbacks of asylum seekers between May and November 2024, which resulted in a total of 142 persons, including 35 children, as young as 9 months old, being stranded in the buffer zone, housed in 2 de facto temporary humanitarian camps. Mr. President, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, I hope I have demonstrated significant potential of UN police, even with a lean component like the one in Cyprus, to strengthen peacekeeping missions and advance the Action for Peacekeeping Plus strategy. This is particularly achievable through close cooperation and integration with other mission components, leveraging our respective strengths to support one another. MINUSCA AMPO is dedicated to efficiency, efficacy, and seamless multi-component integration, striving to maximize outcomes with available resources. This commitment is reinforced using technology to enhance operational capability and by promoting the full, equal, and meaningful participation of women in the mission. I would like to express my gratitude to the 15 police contributing countries that form the backbone of MINUSCA AMPO, as I urge the member states to continue to supporting this vital international peace effort by contributing their skilled officers. Please accept my deepest gratitude for your kind attention. Thank you.
我感谢许明。
I thank Ms. Xu for her briefing. Now, I shall give the floor to those council members who wish to make a statement. I'll give the floor to the representative of Pakistan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, allow me to begin by thanking Under Secretary General Jean-Pierre Laqua, Police Advisor Mr. Faisal Shakar, Police Commissioner MINUSCA Christophe Bizimungu, and Senior Police Advisor UNFICYP Ms. Mingzhu Xu for their informative briefings. We welcome the presence of the leaders of UN police components from various peacekeeping missions, special political missions, and regional offices. Mr. President, the UN police is a cornerstone of global peacekeeping efforts, providing critical support in conflict zones, post-conflict transitions, and peace-building initiatives. It is a key component of the UN's A4P strategy. On today's agenda, I would like to make the following points. First, it is crucial that the perspectives of UN police be included in decision-making regarding peacekeeping missions, including mission planning and resourcing. These insights can make a critical difference in improving UN peace operations. We have heard some of these perspectives from our briefers today. Second, realistic mandates are key for the success of peacekeeping operations. In situations where a rapid deployment of formed police units instead of the military units is necessary, the deployment should be based on clear and achievable mandates and supported by adequate resources. Third, embracing technology will prove crucial for the future success of UN police actions, as well as the safety and security of civilians and the peacekeepers themselves. Policing in peacekeeping operations needs to evolve and adapt to address complex, non-traditional threats involving organized crime, human trafficking, terrorism, and the weaponization of technology. UN police must receive adequate training and capacity building and should integrate technology in their operations by using tools such as generative artificial intelligence, virtual reality tools, drones, surveillance equipment, and data analytics. Fourth, UN police plays a crucial role in post-conflict transitions. In transitions and in peace building, the UN police must prioritize the capacity building, institutional development, and rebuilding local law enforcement structures of the host government to ensure sustainable peace and stability. It should foster trust with host governments and local communities. Finally, a culture of efficiency within the UN police and peacekeeping operations can significantly improve performance and resource management. Clear mission objectives, streamlined decision-making processes, and effective resource allocation are essential to achieving operational efficiency. Mr. President, Pakistan Police, along with our military, has been a traditional contributor to UN missions. Pakistan Police has deployed 50 formed police units in UN peace operations, including in Haiti, Darfur, East Timor, and the Ivory Coast. 11 of our brave police personnel have laid down their lives in the line of duty. The current readiness of a Pakistani FPU on the rapid deployment level highlights the country's preparedness to support international peacekeeping efforts. Mr. President, Pakistani police persons have earned the respect for their professionalism and devotion to duty under the UN police banner. Besides Police Advisor Faisal Shakar, I would like to recall that Pakistani policewoman Shahzadi Gulfam was the first ever recipient of the International Female Police Peacekeeper Award in 2011. Mr. President, Pakistan will host a peacekeeping ministerial preparatory meeting on 15-16 April this year in Islamabad in partnership with the Republic of Korea in the lead-up to the Berlin ministerial meeting in May. This will provide an opportunity for member states to make pledges to support UN police, including through the deployment of formed police units and individual police officers, and by supporting training and use of technology. Mr. President, in conclusion, I wish to underscore that the future of UN policing and peacekeeping operations depends on adaptability, innovation, collaboration, as well as the support of the international community. Member states must provide the necessary political and financial support to enable UN police to fulfill its mandate effectively. I thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the representative of Pakistan for the statement, and I'll give the floor to the representative of Sierra Leone.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also thank Under-Secretary General Laqua, UN Police Advisor Mr. Faisal Shakar, Police Commissioner Bizimungu, and Senior Police Advisor Shi for the informative briefings. Mr. President, UN police operations remain integral to the achievement of global peace and security as we promote peace processes that seek to address the root causes of conflict, promote the meaningful participation of local stakeholders, including women, youth, civil society, and community leaders, and support national cohesion and state building. In prioritizing multilateral approaches to addressing conflict with political dialogue and engagement at the center, the Security Council must therefore provide UN police operations with the appropriate administrative, technical, and logistical capacities to effectively contribute to this agenda. In responding to issues around the relevance and the efficiency of UN police operations, Mr. President, I will make the following 4 points. 1. UN police operations must be guided by clear mandates guiding their operations. Whether deployed in multidimensional peace operations or in the context of targeted mandates, these deployments must be underpinned by clear objectives based on accurate assessments of the conditions on the ground, as well as the end goals to be achieved through a coherent, legitimate peace process and beyond. Configuring peacekeeping operations to meet the challenges of today and tomorrow must therefore always be based on adherence to the principles of the UN Charter and to upholding human rights. 2. In developing a clear mandate for UN police operations, there should be clarity and agreement amongst the key stakeholders, including the Security Council, PCCs, and host nations, with regards to the viability of the approach. Coordination between the Security Council and the General Assembly, as well as with UN agencies and other development agencies, is needed to develop strategies that move beyond peacekeeping during conflict to supporting states during reconstruction and state building. At the operational level, it is equally important that local communities trust the presence and work of UN police and regard them as a useful force for good, particularly in the case of communities dealing with trauma from protracted conflict and violations of human rights. 3. The expansion of demand for UN police operations in addressing complex challenges in an age of technology-driven warfare, extremism, and transborder crimes requires specialized skills and training. Measures undertaken by the UN police to improve their management and operations, including through the Strategic Guidance Framework for International Police Peacekeeping and the Secretary General's Action for Peacekeeping Plus, provide a cohesive and coherent framework for the recruitment, training, and deployment of an agile and capable UN police force that can respond to the needs of communities. Efforts have increased to build capacities in languages, strategic leadership, community policing, and protection of civilians. UN police operations can be further enhanced by using reliable data on conflict-fragile situations and socioeconomic conditions to conduct hotspot analysis and predictive policing, noting adherence to ethical standards in this regard. We particularly commend concerted efforts by UN police operations in responding to the Women, Peace and Security agenda, not only with respect to their human resource policies, but also with numerous examples from missions of proactive measures for addressing gender-based violence, women's capacity building and education, as well as female participation in governance and community peace. Further noting the positive multiplier effects emanating from efforts to build and strengthen national security and governance institutions in many peacekeeping operations in Africa and elsewhere, we call on member states to increase their support of capacity building initiatives for UN police forces and logistical support to ensure their preparedness and effectiveness in missions. Finally, Mr. President, looking ahead, UN police peace operations will require more strategic partnerships with regional actors in shifting towards flexible operations that can better address the challenges of a shifting geopolitical landscape and resource constraints. The range of possible adaptive configurations will be demonstrated to some extent as we implement Resolution 2719, which presents an opportunity for supporting fixed police units that can be readily deployed to support peace operations on the African continent. In conclusion, Mr. President, strengthening good governance and protection of civilians in the context of conflict prevention and peace-building cooperation also requires the Security Council and member states to explore more strategic interactions with entities such as the Peace-Building Commission, which, if fully utilized, can effectively bridge the peace development nexus and support durable peace and security arrangements. We welcome the assurances for adequate, predictable, and sustainable financing for peace operations provided in the Pact for the Future. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Sierra Leone for the statement, and I'll give the floor to the representative of Somalia.
Thank you, Mr. President. At the outset, I would like to thank the Chinese presidency for organizing this important meeting. I also extend our appreciation to USG Laqua, Advisor Shakar, Commissioner Bizimungu, and Senior Advisor Shu for their clear, incisive briefings that have continually highlighted the indispensable role of UN police in our peacekeeping efforts. UN police go far beyond enforcing the law. They serve as the crucial bridge between international missions and local communities. Their daily commitment to building trust, ensuring security, and promoting community cooperation underpins the stability essential in today's challenging environment. Through increased community-oriented and intelligence-led policing approaches, they have enhanced their effectiveness in protecting civilians and responding to serious crimes. The effectiveness of our peacekeeping operations relies on well-trained and properly equipped police force. I take this opportunity to pay tribute to the tireless efforts and sacrifices of police commissioners and their teams whose work in conflict resolution, civilian protection, and capacity building establishes the foundation for lasting peace. Their adaptability in addressing evolving challenges from transnational organized crime to complex security implications demonstrate the vital nature of their mission. The recent adoption of the Landmark Resolution 2719 of 2023 by the Security Council underscores our shared commitment to robust partnership. This resolution exemplifies our collaborative spirit on the global stage, particularly in strengthening African-led peace support operations and reinforcing human rights standards. Additionally, the progress made through Global Focal Point for the Rule of Law and UN Interagency Task Force on Policing has fostered greater coherence in our collective support to host governments. Mr. President, the Secretary General's new agenda for peace provides a visionary roadmap that addresses the root cause of conflict while strengthening societal resilience. As we implement A for Peace Plus, 3 priorities deserve our focused attention: strengthening specialized capabilities, enhancing operational readiness, and developing effective communication strategies. Looking ahead, we must ensure UNPOL has adequate resources and specialized capabilities to fulfill its mandate tasks effectively. The role of UN police in supporting political settlements and post-conflict transition remains crucial, particularly through capacity building of host state police services. While close integration between military and police components is vital, maintaining clear operational distinctions preserves the unique strength of each force. The recent UN Chief Police Summit highlighted the importance of aligning our capabilities with operational requirements. We must continue to invest in specialized training, implement rigorous performance metrics, and develop strategies to counter misinformation. These elements are crucial for enhancing the operational readiness of our peacekeepers. To conclude, Mr. President, every stakeholder bears a share of the responsibility for lasting peace. Preventive diplomacy, strategic partnership, and inclusive dialogue will be key to empower UN police to lead the charge towards sustainable security. We stand ready to work together to protect the vulnerable and transform the vision of peace into tangible reality for all. I thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the representative of Somalia for the statement, and I'll give the floor to the representative of Denmark.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you to the briefers for their valuable insights. Denmark deeply appreciates the dedication of UN police officers around the world. Colleagues, we meet at a time of rapid change. Conflicts today are rarely just between states. They stem from political instability, economic disparity, and weak governance, conditions that fuel corruption, organized crime, and human rights violations. Criminal networks, armed groups, and terrorists exploit these conditions, blurring the lines between crime and insurgency. Just as these challenges cut across sectors, so too must our responses. Sustainable political solutions, a robust rule of law, and effective local policing are key to addressing these complex threats. Mr. President, allow me to highlight 3 points. First, UN peace operations remain a vital tool. Every day they help to stabilize conflict zones, but they must adapt. Traditional peacekeeping is not enough. UN police could and should play part of mission planning from the start and play an even bigger role in tackling crime, protecting civilians, and strengthening justice systems. And as conflicts evolve, they can provide important support for political settlement and post-conflict transitions, critical for long-term stability. We strongly support the important reform work taking place in the UN regarding the future of UN policing. We must remember that effective policing today is not the same as it was yesterday. The future of UN policing, in particular of times of financial restraints, requires clear priorities, innovation, and specialization. We need to move beyond traditional approaches, ensure modern training, and embrace new technologies. With better skills, flexible strategies, and more agile force, UN police will be ready for tomorrow's challenges. Denmark has extensive experience in police reform and capacity building, and we stand ready to share our expertise. My second point is that one approach does not fit all. Peace missions, including their police components, must be flexible, realistic, and aligned with actual needs. When conflicts change, mandates should be reviewed and adapted. And mandates must match available resources. Overpromising and under-delivering risks eroding trust in UN's ability to make a difference. Realism is key to ensuring successful and sustainable peace operations. Third and lastly, a well-functioning police must be diverse. Women play a crucial role in law enforcement, and the Women, Peace and Security agenda is a key priority for Denmark. A diverse police force is a stronger, more effective police force. Mr. President, to conclude, UN police are on the front line of peace. To uphold the rule of law, protect civilians, and ensure lasting stability, we must invest in their training, strategies, and expertise. The future of UN policing depends on clear priorities, data-driven strategies, and the ability to adapt. Missions must be flexible, mandates realistic, and resources aligned with expectations. We invite our partners to work with us, strengthening law enforcement, addressing emerging threats, and advancing gender balance in UN policing. By doing so, we will make peace operations more effective and contribute to a safer and more secure world. I thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the representative of Denmark. I give the floor to the representative of the United States.
Thank you, Mr. President. And for their comprehensive briefings, I'd like to thank Undersecretary General Laqua, UN Police Advisor Shakar, MINUSCA Police Commissioner Christophe Bizimungu, and UNFICYP Senior Police Advisor Minguzu. UN police extensively contribute to peacekeeping by supporting member states, where mandated, in conflict, post-conflict, and crisis situations through efficient engagement that serves and protects the population. UN police and peacekeeping operations are a cost-effective way for international burden sharing, and the UN Secretariat increasingly recognizes them as being central to the success of UN PKOs. controlling civil disorder, border policing, training and mentoring host country police, protecting civilians, and institutionalizing the rule of law are just some of the ways UN police contribute to missions. As put forward in the latest independent study on the future of peacekeeping, peacekeeping must adapt. UNPOL must also adapt as a critical piece of the peacekeeping puzzle. One helpful adaptation would be to enable more effective integration of UNPOL perspectives and equities in decision-making processes at both UN headquarters and at the mission level. This integration would strengthen strategic and operational mission planning conversations, which would have important planning and resource implications, including helping to ensure the recruitment of UNPOL personnel is centered more on mission-specific needs and skill sets. Another helpful adaptation could be to extend UNPOL rotation schedules as part of an effort to strengthen some of its institutional structures at the headquarters level. Longer rotations would also support the development of critical local knowledge and relationships, key to the effective mentoring and capacity building of local police in UN peacekeeping contexts. This could also help address the issue of the demand for UN police officers and formed police units outpacing the number of police officers contributing states are willing and able to deploy. In addition, training must match the growing complexity of policing. Member states must prepare police with specialized training, especially in critical areas such as conducting forensic investigations, including digital forensics, and addressing organized crime. At the same time, it's vital to leverage digital technologies to enhance UNPOL and broader peacekeeping effectiveness, improve mandate delivery, and analyze data to develop evidence-based approaches. In closing, Mr. President, UNPOL continues to show the capacity and willingness to innovate to meet new and emerging challenges, and it must continue to uphold high standards of ethical conduct to be able to effectively bridge the gap between missions, host state law enforcement, and local communities. Member states, missions, and the UN Secretariat should work together to meet UNPOL's growing needs and rising expectations for its critical role in UN peacekeeping. And with that, I thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the representative of the United States. I give the floor to the representative of the Republic of Korea.
I'd like to thank USG Laqua, UN Police Advisor Shakar, Police Commissioner Mr. Bizimungu, and Senior Police Advisor Ms. Shi for their insightful and comprehensive briefings. We recognize the indispensable role of the UN Police in advancing the priorities of the Action for Peace Plus initiative. Today's evolving challenges to the global peace and security, including the disregard for international humanitarian and human rights law and the rise of cybercrimes and transnational organized crime, require more robust and adaptive policing responses. In this regard, this annual briefing provides a timely opportunity to rethink the role of the UN Police. Against this backdrop, I'd like to highlight 3 points. First, the pivotal role of the UNPOL in fostering trust and solidarity with the local communities. UNPOL serves as a bridge between the peacekeeping missions and host communities, uniquely positioned to engage directly with the local populations through community-oriented policing. This proximity enables UNPOL to address the grievances in fragile communities, grievances that, if left unaddressed, can be exploited by the extremist and the terrorist groups. Moreover, in this bridging role, UNPOL is instrumental during and after the transition of UN peacekeeping operations. In collaboration with the UN country team, it can help sustain and build upon the progress achieved through these missions. Specialized training in community engagement, conflict prevention, and strategic communication is essential to achieving these objectives. In this context, Korea National Police University has been conducting a training of trainers program on community-oriented policing for key police contributing countries in the Asia-Pacific region since 2023. Second, the importance of the strengthening the policing capacity of host countries based on national ownership. Sustaining peace is highly dependent on the ability of the host countries to maintain their own law and order. UNPOL must therefore continue to provide tailored capacity-building assistance to enhance the law enforcement and judicial capabilities of the host countries. Republic of Korea, in partnership with the UNDP, has contributed to these efforts by supporting the development of the criminal information management system for the police in the DR Congo. Moreover, increasing the participation of women in national police forces is essential, particularly in addressing conflict-related sexual violence. Enhancing the representation of the women in UN police is equally critical, as it strengthens the efforts to build the capacity of the national police in this regard. Recognizing this, Republic of Korea has deployed numerous female police officers to UN missions in Liberia, Haiti, East Timor, and South Sudan. Third, the need to equip UNPOL with the skills and tools to address evolving security threats. The growing impact of mis- and disinformation and hate speech in peacekeeping context poses serious risk to the safety and security of peacekeepers and undermines effective implementation of the peacekeeping mandates, including those of UNPOL. The deployment of police officers with expertise in strategic community in cyberspace will become increasingly important to address these threats. In this regard, the Republic of Korea remains committed to assisting UNPOL in the use of the digital technology to enhance its capabilities and effectiveness. Furthermore, UN peace operations should also address transnational organized crime, including drug trafficking, arms smuggling, and human trafficking, which fueled instability. As seen in Mali, where UNPOL assists the authorities in combating transnational organized crime, its role has been crucial. Member States should therefore continue to support UNPOL in these efforts where necessary. Mr. President, we look forward to the upcoming UN Peacekeeping Ministerial meeting in May, the UN Secretary-General's review of the future of peace operations, where meaningful recommendations will further strengthen the role of UNPOL and ensure it is well positioned to meet evolving challenges. We remain committed to working closely with the UN and member states to strengthen the UNPOL as an integral part of the UN peacekeeping. I thank you.
I thank the representative of the RK. I give the floor to the representative of Panama.
Gracias.
Thank you, Mr. President. We thank the Undersecretary General, Mr. Jean-Pierre Laqua, and Mr. Faisal Shakar, Mr. Christophe Bizimungu, and Ms. Mingju Su for their statements. We also express our thanks to members of the United Nations Police, colleagues present, and those serving in the field for their dedication and their sacrifice. Taking their perspectives into account in decision-making makes a difference, especially at a critical time when profound reform is needed. Today, peace operations are evolving, and the Commissioner's role is gaining importance as a cog in the machinery that transforms and builds peace from the bottom up at every stage of transitions. Any peace process must be focused on strengthening communities, their resilience, and on the holistic development of each individual. For this reason, we urge investment in regional and local cooperation programs that empower both police and community leaders to become agents of peace and leaders in protecting the rule of law, human rights and democracy. We also urge them to be role models in the achievement of gender equality and to fight against impunity for the prevention of sexual abuse and exploitation. Coordinating efforts with organizations such as the African Union working alongside the Peacebuilding Commission can be key to facilitating cooperation with local authorities, agencies on the ground, academia, and civil society. In addition, it is crucial to ensure the safety and security of peace commissioners and peacekeepers. They are facing increasing risks as a consequence of factors such as climate change and disinformation campaigns facilitated by big tech. We can only overcome these obstacles by building trust and new ways of reaching out and communicating with the communities we serve. Equally crucial is building closer ties with local authorities. To do this, as highlighted in Action for Peacekeeping Plus, we must strive to include more women in all peace processes, since their contributions are essential in mediating and rebuilding trust. Furthermore, we urge everyone to take into account climate, peace and security components in every decision and stage of peace processes. We know that there is a nexus between the lack of critical resources such as water and food and breeding grounds for the recruitment of gangs and armed groups. We call on the police to work hand in hand with communities, authorities and agencies on the ground to educate and empower young people with civic, mental health and business initiatives to thus steer them away from the clutches of armed groups. Mr. President, finally and above all, we urge you not to lose sight of the fact that attacking the problem at its root is the best option we have. Peace cannot be won with an iron fist. Peace is built with patience and tolerance, by improving basic services, creating inclusive civic spaces involving women and youth, balancing the distribution of wealth and political power, and by truly investing in human, economic and environmentally sustainable development. Thank you very much.
I thank the representative of Panama, and I give the floor to the representative of France.
I'd like to thank USG Jean-Pierre Laqua, his police advisor, Mr. Faisal Shakar, and the head of the MINUSCA police component, Mr. Christophe Bissimungo, and Ms. Minju Yu, senior police advisor, for their statements. I'd like to begin by paying a heartfelt tribute to the work of these women and men, police officers and gendarmes, currently deployed in the field in sometimes very difficult security conditions, who work to contribute to maintaining peace and protecting civilian populations. I also pay tribute to all member states who participate in United Nations Police and to the memory of members of the UNPOL who have lost their lives during their mission. I'll be covering 2 points. Firstly, United Nations Police, UNPOL, has a particular responsibility in mandate implementation. Acting in an integrated manner, United Nations Police intervenes at the crossroads of missions undertaken by military and civilian components. Committed to building and developing the capacities of a state's domestic security forces, United Nations Police play a decisive role to help authorities to ensure that their security sector reform is a success. In mandates involving civilian protection, domestic security missions par excellence, the police component must be able to play a specific role and act across the spectrum of their powers with the necessary resources. To successfully carry out the missions entrusted to them in increasingly complex contexts, it's essential for United Nations Police to have appropriate capacities in planning, force generation, crisis management, and operational management. They must be more efficient, more effective, and more well-versed in the needs of their populations. That's the purpose of the Action for Peacekeeping initiative and its implementing strategy A4P+, as well as the Pact for the Future signed last September. France supports these efforts to ensure that peacekeeping is more effective and able to meet current and future challenges. Where the security situation allows, United Nations Police must be able to play their full role in community policing. In this context, they must particularly continue their efforts in raising awareness on combating sexual exploitation and abuse, as well as building the capacity of local police to address the needs of the victims of such violence. We must also bear in mind the increasing responsibility on UN police in supporting the transition phases of peacekeeping operations. This work must be carried out gradually, including through capacity building to promote lasting peace after the withdrawal of UN operations. President, I'll move on to my second point. The role of women is essential to ensure the success of United Nations Police. United Nations Police must continue to tirelessly promote the role of women among their ranks. France pays tribute to the efforts made here and is contributing to them. United Nations Police have exceeded their targets in their strategy for uniformed staff parity, and these results must be consolidated over the long term. Women are key actors in conflict settlement. The recent joint initiative undertaken by member states with UN Women, called the High-Level Network for Gender-Responsive Policing, has further improved the integration of women within domestic security forces. France supports this initiative and stands ready to share its good practices. Mr. President, to conclude, the women and men serving within United Nations Police deserve our support and respect. They have a tangible impact on people's daily lives. It's essential to recognize this and to publicize it. In light of the continued risks of disinformation, efforts must be continued to better communicate and to explain the role of United Nations Police on the ground where they're deployed. France will continue to support the UN Police's contribution to peacekeeping operations. Thank you.
I thank the representative of France. I now give the floor to the representative of the United Kingdom.
To Under-Secretary General Laqua and to the three UN police representatives for their very helpful briefings. Let me start by recognising the contributions and sacrifices of the 6,100 UN police women and men currently deployed across 12 missions worldwide. As we've heard, UNPOL's role is fundamental to the successful delivery of the Action for Peacekeeping Plus initiative, in supporting and advising countries in crisis, conflict and post-conflict situations, in preventing crime, protecting life and property, and in maintaining public order and safety. In particular, we support UNPOL's vital work to protect civilians and maintain public safety, with full respect for the rule of law and international human rights law, contributing to more responsive and accountable policing by host nations. The UK also continues to champion the principles of the landmark Women, Peace and Security Resolution 1325 on this, its 25th year. And we are pleased to support, in collaboration with the UN Institute for Training and Research and police contributing countries, gender-responsive courses and training, including for sexual and gender-based violence investigations and police logistics. As we look to the future, we must ensure UN policing has the capabilities it needs to effectively deliver mandates and tackle emerging challenges. This includes ensuring effective policing structures within the wider UN peacekeeping architecture, bringing in specialist expertise and, critically, making best use of new technologies. In conclusion, the United Kingdom remains committed to supporting UNPOL in line with the principles of Action for Peacekeeping Plus and to continuing to work together to ensure they contribute positively to peace and security around the world. Thank you.
感谢英国代表的发言。下面我请
I thank the representative of the United Kingdom. Now give the floor to the representative of Algeria.
شكرا سيد الرئيس والشكر موصول لمقدمي.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would also like to thank the speakers for their substantive briefings. First of all, we would like to pay tribute to the immense sacrifice made by the members of UN peacekeepers, be they policemen or military. And we welcome this huge effort. The delegation of my country shares the assessments made by the various speakers. Peacekeeping missions is an essential effort made by the UN trying to resolve conflicts and have stability. And we support the recommendations made by the Undersecretary General within the framework of A4P. The police is a central factor in these operations. It helps strengthening state institutions and restore the trust of the citizens. Nonetheless, the efforts made by the United States to the peacekeeping operations are facing many challenges which require a global adaptation of these operations. And this is to strengthen the capacity to react immediately and effectively to any and all threats and to adapt to the environment, to the changes in the environment of a given operation. This meeting of ours is a good opportunity to exchange viewpoints as regards the ways and the means we can readopt our common tools, in particular the police component of a peacekeeping operation, and how to do it so as to tackle the multifaceted challenges they face. And in this regard, the delegation of my country would like to underscore the following points. First of all, close partnership with the host country is essential if we want to make sure that the mandate is successfully implemented by a PKO, in particular when it comes to capacity strengthening of the national security forces in line with the priorities expressed by the host country. In this regard as well, the reform of the security sector is essential within the UN efforts as the UN tries to create a robust and lasting security force. The national police, being the closest to the people, to the local people, are at the heart of these operations. In conflict and post-conflict situations during which the security institutions are very frequently divided and fragile, the security sector reform and the way to go about it is needed, all the while making sure that this is in line with the vision of national authorities. The police chiefs summit, UNCOPS, which was in New York in June 2024, was an opportunity for member states to share their national expertise in maintaining peace and security. The delegation of my country is on the view is that we need to build on those recommendations, the recommendations that came out of that meeting to support the efforts made by the police components and PKOs. Secondly, there is an urgent need to develop a greater partnership between the United Nations and member states, and do that so as to build bridges and exchange know-how and good practices. And in this regard, Algeria has made major efforts to develop and modernize our national security institutions, because we're trying to adapt our capacity to the new and emerging challenges, in particular cyber threats. Furthermore, my country is involved in various bilateral cooperation arrangements with our partners to share our vast experience in our fight against all kinds of threats. Algeria is available to contribute towards UN efforts and to do it through capacity building programs to support member states who have a need in this area. We therefore recommend that the United Nations continue encouraging and supporting bilateral cooperation between member states and also support the role played by regional organizations. In our capacity as a host country for the African Union Mechanism for Police Cooperation, AFRIPOL, we support the idea of giving a prevalent role to the African Union to strengthen cooperation between the African police institutions. We also think that there needs to be a greater cooperation between the United Nations and the African Union, which will, of course, have positive ramifications for all parties. Third point. The security reaction and the constant adaptation given the changing nature of security threats requires investing in new technologies, all the more so since the terrorist and criminal groups use advanced technologies to continue with their subversive activities. Using new technologies has become a necessity currently to challenge, for example, negative propaganda, lies, disinformation, all of which are being used to foment tensions amongst communities or against the authority of a state. Access to advanced technologies would be possible if we were to strengthen cooperation among member states, and also if we had support of the United Nations when it comes to technology transfer and expertise exchange. We recommend that our organizations be a link between the donors and beneficiaries here. In conclusion, Algeria, being a reliable security partner with huge experience in anti-terrorist work, remains committed to contributing to all of the efforts, regional and international, aimed at strengthening peacekeeping operations, in particular the police component, and to do this through innovative and effective partnerships. I thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the representative of Algeria. Now I give the floor to the representative of Greece.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to thank Under-Secretary General Jean-Pierre Lacroix, UN Police Advisor Faisal Shakar, and the heads of the police components of MINUSCA, Mr. Bizimungu, and of UNFICYP, Mr. Chou. To begin with, Greece wishes to express its deep gratitude to the men and women police officers who are committed to serving under the most challenging circumstances while protecting civilians and maintaining law and order. At the same time, we honor the memory of all those who have lost their lives in the line of duty. Mr. President, United Nations peacekeeping is one of the most effective tools available to the UN in the promotion and maintenance of international peace and security. The United Nations police are an essential component of peacekeeping. I wish to outline a few key points of importance for my country. First, it's imperative to implement the Pact of the Future, and especially Action 21, with which we committed to adapt peace operations to better respond to existing challenges and new realities. The adaptation should consider the needs of all member states and troop and police contributing countries, and the priorities and responsibilities of host countries. Peace operations can only succeed when political solutions are actively pursued and they have predictable, adequate and sustained financing. Moreover, we encourage implementation of the proposals of a new agenda for peace on reinforcing and strengthening UN peacekeeping capabilities to operationalize rapid responses to emerging crises. We also support efforts to implement the priorities outlined in the Action of Peacekeeping initiative, as well as the Action for Peace Plus initiative. Secondly, we echo all those believing that the UN police have an important role to play in protecting civilians as part of the engagement with the local population. Police contributing countries should ensure that the personnel they deploy are adequately trained, including with regard to protection operations. Thirdly, UN police role for the improvement of the host states' police capabilities in a way that it can ensure the safety of its citizens can be crucial. In particular, UN Police can support capacity building programs and promote gender parity within host states' police. We call the Council to support the relevant efforts of all those missions. Mr. President, we value the briefing provided by Mr. Zhu, Senior Police Advisor of UNFICYP. UNPOL is working in cooperation with UNFICYP military and civil affairs components as part of the three-pillar concept, contribute to the maintenance and restoration of law and order in the buffer zone in Cyprus. Police officers deployed in UNFICYP need to possess a good knowledge of the local conditions with the ability to evaluate the implications of economic, political, cultural, historical sensitivities in the region. We thank them for the service. Mr. President, it is our belief that UN policing can more effectively integrate women's empowerment into a host country's development by implementing the Women, Peace and Security agenda. This can be achieved in particular by financing and actively supporting women's participation and leadership for peace, by ensuring safe participation, and by ensuring broader gender responsiveness in peace processes and peace agreements, especially in the respective mediation context. Mr. President, in concluding, let us not forget that the ultimate objective of UN peacekeeping is to achieve durable political solutions to conflict, something that requires a unified political support of member states and particularly of the Security Council. I would like to reiterate Greece's readiness to continue to contributing to the efforts of the United Nations Police in this respect. I thank you.
Okay. I thank the representative of Greece. Now I give the floor to the representative of Guyana.
Thank you, Mr. President. I thank USG Laqua, UN Police Advisor Shakar, Police Commissioner Bizimungu, and Senior Police Advisor Shu for their briefings. Guyana pays tribute to the UN Police for their crucial role in peacekeeping. Their contribution to the protection of civilians, deterrence of violence, enabling of other military and civilian mission components, and capacity building in today's challenging environment is critical to the successes of peacekeeping missions and the overall goal of maintaining international peace and security. Police commissioners, as leaders of the police contingents, bear significant responsibility in ensuring the effectiveness and professionalism of their personnel. Their leadership is paramount in fostering a culture of respect for human rights, upholding the rule of law, and building trust with host communities. It is against this backdrop, Mr. President, that Guyana highlights the importance of the following 5 elements in keeping UN police fit for purpose. 1. Strengthening recruitment and training. The selection and training of police commissioners and their teams must prioritize not only technical skills, but also critical competencies in human rights, gender sensitivity, conflict resolution, and intercultural communication. Pre-deployment training must be comprehensive and context-specific, equipping personnel to effectively navigate the complex challenges of modern peacekeeping environments. We encourage the UN to continue investing in robust training programs and to explore innovative approaches in order to better prepare contingents for the realities of the tasks ahead. Number 2, promoting accountability and transparency. Accountability for misconduct is essential to maintaining the integrity of UN peacekeeping operations. Robust mechanisms for investigating allegations of wrongdoing and ensuring timely and appropriate disciplinary action are crucial. We underscore the importance of transparency in these processes to build public confidence and prevent impunity. We also encourage the UN to strengthen its collaboration with member states in addressing these issues effectively. Number 3, enhancing collaboration and coordination. Effective peacekeeping requires seamless collaboration and coordination among all mission components, including military, civilian, and police elements. Police commissioners play a vital role in fostering this integrated approach, working closely with their counterparts to achieve shared objectives. We encourage the UN to further enhance mechanisms for information sharing and joint planning to ensure a cohesive and coordinated response to evolving challenges. Number 4, prioritizing community engagement. Building trust with host communities is fundamental to the success of peacekeeping operations. Police commissioners should prioritize community engagement strategies that promote dialogue, address local concerns, and foster a sense of shared responsibility for peace and security. This includes working closely with local communities, civil society organizations, and community leaders to understand the specific needs and vulnerabilities of the population. And 5, striving for gender parity. We reiterate the importance of achieving gender parity at all levels of peacekeeping operations, including within police contingents. The participation of women in policing roles brings diverse perspectives and contributes to more effective responses to the needs of all members of the community. We encourage member states to increase the deployment of female police officers and support the UN's efforts to create a more inclusive and gender-sensitive peacekeeping environment. Mr. President, Guyana remains committed to supporting the UN's efforts to strengthen peacekeeping operations and enhance the role of police commissioners in achieving lasting peace and security. We believe that by working together, we can create a more effective and responsive peacekeeping architecture that is capable of addressing the complex challenges of our time. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Guyana for a statement. Now I give the floor to the representative of Slovenia.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wish to thank the Undersecretary General Laqua, Police Commissioner Bizimungo, Senior Police Advisor Shaw, and Police Advisor Shakar for their insightful briefings. I also wish to take this opportunity to sincerely thank all policemen and policewomen who are serving in the UN operations. Mr. President, day to day it is becoming clear that we see serious challenges to the international legal framework we have built over decades. This can be most visibly seen through wide and great deterioration of peace and security around the globe, as we are witnessing a record number of armed conflicts and, most disturbingly, a record number of victims of these conflicts, including among civilians. If we are to break this vicious cycle, we must pursue all possible avenues. One of them is maintaining peace in situations and environments where it is already fragile. Let me therefore focus on 3 important elements concerning possible contributions of the UN Police to the Action for Peacekeeping Plus initiative. First, we need to reassess the United Nations support for police, justice and corrections. The demands placed on the UN policing have evolved, as have the operating environments. Well-trained and effective police personnel is needed in peacekeeping operations more than ever. To effectively prevent conflict and promote sustainable peace, we must develop a more comprehensive and efficient approach to law enforcement challenges and address the absence of justice systems where needed. Police, justice, and corrections must be central to the deployment of peace operations throughout their full life cycle and during transitions. Second, a consistent vision by the UN to support police, justice and corrections in both mission and non-mission settings is vital. Only tailored capacity-building interventions that endure throughout the entire life cycle can enable host country to fully realize their potential and to build or rebuild the system based on and guided by the rule of law. This vision must be accompanied by a carefully crafted operational plan developed in collaboration with member states, including police contributing countries, relevant actors from the United Nations Interagency Task Force on Peacebuilding or on policing, as well as the civil society and academia. We should explore innovative models for deploying police, justice and corrections personnel, fostering stronger partnership among the UN entities, and encompassing all facets of law enforcement capacity building. All of this must be undertaken with a strong commitment to environmental management. Slovenia is a staunch advocate for an effectively managed footprint for peace operations that minimizes risks to personnel, host communities, and ecosystems. It is the UN's reputation that is at stake, and we should not take this lightly. Third, it is crucial to ensure women's full, equal, meaningful and safe participation at all stages and levels of peace processes. In this regard, we commend all efforts to promote the deployment and professional development of women police officers and women judicial and correction personnel within the UN peacekeeping. This initiative not only strengthens the UN missions, but also benefits the communities they serve. Mr. President, I would like to conclude by acknowledging the ongoing efforts of various UN entities in implementing the Action for Peacekeeping initiative and addressing future challenges and opportunities. I thank you.
I thank Slovenia for the statement, and now give the floor to the representative of the Russian Federation.
Mr. President, we thank the Undersecretary General, Mr. Jean-Pierre Laqua. We thank the Police Commission of the United Nations Multidimensional Integrated Stabilization Mission in the Central African Republic, Mr. Bizimunga, to Ms. Minguzu, Senior Police Advisor in UNFICYP, and the United Nations Police Advisor Faisal Shakar. We are grateful to them for the assessments we've heard. And through you, we would like to thank all of the police peacekeepers who are valiantly discharging their duty to maintain peace and security in difficult conflict situations. We honor the memory of all of the blue helmets who fell in the line of duty. Police plays a special role in the life of any state. It is the policemen and women who uphold law and order, protect us from criminals, and create conditions for secure life and development. And therefore, the effective work of national law enforcement, the trust that the people place in them, are a good indicator of a general level and the well-being of a country. The police components have a unique place in the UN peacekeeping efforts. The blue helmets are, in fact, the face of the UN. They interact with the locals on a daily basis. They help in forming the national law enforcement bodies and in fighting crime. In those countries which host peacekeeping operations, the UN is associated not with the headquarters far away in New York, and not with Security Council or General Assembly resolutions abstract for most people, but with the police peacekeepers who are patrolling the city streets and who know firsthand what issues the locals are encountering. So as to keep and be equal to the trust of the host countries, the missions should receive the best of the best who have gone through rigorous selection and having all the necessary skills. My country is proud of the fact that since 1992, more than 700 staff from the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Russia served as police peacekeepers. Today, Russian nationals are serving in missions in South Sudan and the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Cyprus and in the Abyei region. We're pleased to say that amongst the UNFICYP policemen who were awarded the In the Service of Peace Service Medal last November, 3 of our nationals also figured. The special representative of Secretary General Cyprus and head of Cyprus, Colin Stewart, highly appreciated their contribution to the work and noted their professionalism and the high level of their training. Ms. Minjusu today have already spoke of the important role played by the police contingent on UNFICYP in international efforts to maintain stability on the island. Officers from 15 countries participate actively in buffer area patrols on the island, ensuring law and order and security for all of its people. We are convinced that their presence helps build trust between Cypriot communities and helps create conditions for their peaceful coexistence. It is notable that almost half of those serving amongst the police contingent are women. I would like to separately point out the role played by the police component of MINUSCA, which was covered in the briefing we've heard today by Mr. Bizimungu. 3,000 police, first of all, from African countries are discharging their duty valiantly as they support the civilians and maintain law and order. The blue helmets of the mission also contribute significantly with the security sector reform and CAR. They trained hundreds of people in Central Africa, law enforcement and police. They helped ensuring the law enforcement bodies work effectively. They helped restore police infrastructure. We also separately point out the work the mission is doing to help develop the penitentiary system in the Central African Republic. This is a very important area of work, and this is the area where the national authorities are still facing serious challenges, and they're first and foremost administrative and budgetary in nature. What is important here is that Bangui highly appreciates the efforts made by the police component made by the mission and advocates their continuation. And this is the best manifestation of the accomplishments of the MINUSCA Blue Helmets. Mr. President, what is being done by the UN police is multifaceted and, depending on the mandate, ranges from limited advisory assistance to the national law enforcement to temporary ensuring the public order using their own forces alone. No matter what the future of peacekeeping operations, we have no doubt that there will be a demand for police assistance in one way or another. The gauge of success, as shown by the examples I quoted here, is through having a constructive and trusting relationship with the host country and taking their host country's priorities into account. The goal here is to leave behind the kind of a law enforcement system that does not need any kind of external assistance. And in order to get there, what needs to happen already during the peacekeeping mission presence, the mission needs to take into account specific conditions in the country, and the work needs to be such that the outcome is sustainable and lasting. We do support the increased participation of women in UN peacekeeping. Practice has shown that it's frequently easier for women to have an effective communication with the local people, and in some ethnic and religious contexts, they play a role which is irreplaceable. At the same time, we do not think it's useful to strive for percentage-expressed gender indicators. What should be a cornerstone here is an effective implementation of the mandate and also take into account the conditions of deployment and the security situation. We also would like to recall here that it's important to strictly uphold the principle of wide geographic representation when women are being sent to UN peacekeeping, including for leadership positions. Mr. President, the Russian Federation is a country which contributes police components, and we are trying to increase our contribution to UN peacekeeping and send people into missions which have the appropriate skills. We contribute also through training of UN police, including foreigners. Since 2002, we have been using a UN-certified peacekeeping training center under the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Russia in the town of Domodedovo, and there we trained more than 300 people from more than 50 countries across the world. Our country has a unique experience in professionally training of blue helmets, and we're ready to share that experience. Russia will continue contributing to the work of police peacekeepers. I thank you for your attention.
I thank the representative of the Russian Federation for the statement. I shall now make a statement in my capacity as the representative of China. I would like to thank USG Mr. Laqua, Police Commissioner Mr. Bizimungu, and Police Advisor Mr. Shakar for their briefings. I'm particularly pleased to welcome the participation and briefing of Senior Police Advisor Ms. Minzhu Xu, a female peacekeeper from China. UN Police is an important component of UN PKOs. China commends UN Police for its positive contributions to the maintenance of international peace and stability, and supports its continued endeavors and success. I wish to share 3 points. First, constantly optimizing mandates for UN Police. Based on specific needs of PKOs, the Security Council should continue to incorporate the tasks of UN Police into mission mandates, give full play to UN Police's functional advantages in protecting civilians, maintaining order, preventing conflicts, and rebuilding local law enforcement capabilities, among others. Police mandates should be continuously optimized based on early experience to align with national conditions of host countries, needs of peace processes, and the capacities of PCCs, and strive to be clear, feasible, and focus on priorities. Secondly, constantly upgrading capacity building of UN police. As new technologies are continuously emerging, training provided by PCCs and missions should keep pace with the times to ensure expertise and skill set of every police officer can effectively respond to the requirements of changing circumstances. On the one hand, dividends of science and technology should be harnessed to enhance the abilities for information collection and analysis, situation assessment, and early warning of risks. On the other hand, measures should be taken to guard against information leak, data misuse, and other security risks of science and technology. Thirdly, constantly strengthening the safety and security of UN police. Given UN police's complex working environment and highly risky tasks, the Secretariat should draw up detailed and thorough safety and security rules to meet the challenges. Coordination with PCCs and countries concerned should be strengthened to enhance early warning capabilities and internal information sharing, and to ensure materials and measures for safety and security, protection, and medical purposes are in place, so as to comprehensively improve safety and security. PCCs should be encouraged to use new technologies and equipment to enhance their safety and security capabilities. The statement of unit requirement should adapt to changing circumstances and missions. Colleagues, 2025 marks the 25th anniversary of Chinese police participation in UN PKOs. Over the past 25 years, we have successfully sent more than 2,700 police officers to 18 UN PKOs and UN headquarters, making important contributions to restoring peace and stability in host countries and regions, protecting local population, and advancing reconstruction of justice. In this process, 8 Chinese police officers have made the ultimate sacrifice for UN peacekeeping. China took the lead to create the standby formed police unit in 2016. The unit has been continuously listed at the rapid deployment level by the UN Peacekeeping Capability Readiness System. Chinese police have actively carried out training of foreign police and technical exchanges with them. It has provided training in policing skills to nearly 2,000 police officers from 76 countries and regions, and helped PCCs and host countries to strengthen their law enforcement capacity building. China has provided sustained funding support for UN police-related projects through the China-UN Peace and Development Trust Fund. Going forward, China will actively implement the global security initiative put forward by President Xi Jinping, support the UN in strengthening the work of UN police, and continue to play an important role in maintaining international peace and security. I resume my function as President of the Council. There are no more names inscribed on the list of speakers. The meeting is adjourned.